Up for the great new charter they hammered out together. 50 nations standing side by side, unanimous for peace.
The United Nations is often declared an institution that advocates for diplomacy, peace, justice, and most hypocritically, fairness. It's the body we expect to mediate conflicts, deploy peacekeepers, and uphold human rights across the world. But beneath this noble image lies a far more complicated truth, one that raises serious questions about who truly holds power in the international system. Because at the heart of the UN is a power structure dominated by just 5 nations: the United States, the United Kingdom, France, Russia, and China. These countries make up what's known as the Permanent Five, or the P5, and together they wield extraordinary control over the most powerful arm of the UN, the Security Council. Now, this raises the question, what is the UN? The UN was formed post-World War II to avoid any major catastrophes from occurring and causing detrimental and drastic damage to the world. It preaches about the importance of representation by allowing all countries to wield some sort of political power, by recognizing them and supporting struggles some countries face. Today, the UN has 193 member states and addresses issues ranging from climate change and humanitarian aid to nuclear disarmament and education. But when it comes to enforcing decisions through sanctions, peacekeeping missions, or military action, the authority lies almost entirely with the Security Council, the most corrupt yet important council.
Declare the Security Council duly constituted and in session.
The Security Council essentially aims to serve international peace, security, and safety. The Security Council consists of 15 members. 10 of these rotate every 2 years, giving smaller and developing countries some level of representation. But 5 of them, the P5, are permanent members who never lose their seats: the USA, UK, France, Russia, and China. This group was formed based on the geopolitical realities of 1945. They were the most dominant countries in terms of military and politics, being the victors of World War II. Along with permanent membership, the P5 were granted something no other country has.
15 votes in favor, 1 vote against, 0 abstention. The draft resolution has not been adopted owing to the negative vote of a permanent member of the Council.
Veto power. This means that even if 14 out of 15 countries in the Council agree on a resolution, a single no from any P5 member can block it completely.
But one country cynically blocked this resolution at the last minute. Russia's veto prevented necessary Council action on the basic right of African civilians.
Is the most vivid example of how detrimental the misuse of veto could be.
Vetoed. Respect. Clear. Russia is abusing its veto power to block references to the principle of territorial integrity.
This veto power has become one of the most controversial features of the UN. It's been used repeatedly to protect the interests of powerful nations, even when it comes at the expense of international justice or humanitarian need. Russia has used it to block condemnations of its invasion of Ukraine. The United States has used it to shield Israel from accountability over its actions in Gaza. China has used it to avoid scrutiny over its treatment of Uyghur Muslims. In each case, the rest of the world watched resolutions with overwhelming support collapse because of one country's objection. As global power shifts and new nations rise economically and diplomatically, many have begun to question the legitimacy of this system. Why do countries like India, Brazil, or South Africa, home to billions of people, have no permanent voice? Why is Europe overrepresented while Africa not a singular ounce of representation? And most importantly, can a 21st century world be fairly governed by a framework designed for the politics of 1945? Calls for reform are growing louder. The African Union has demanded a seat. The G4 nations, India, Germany, Brazil, and Japan, have all pushed for permanent membership. Even within the UN itself, there is recognition that the current structure is undemocratic and outdated. But here lies the irony. Any change to the Security Council requires the approval of the very countries that benefit most from keeping things exactly as they are, the Permanent Five. The United Nations is one of humanity's most ambitious experiments in global cooperation. But the existence of the veto raises a fundamental question. Is it truly a place where all nations are equal? Or is it just another arena where power prevails over principle? The world has changed drastically since 1945, but the way it's governed hasn't. And until that changes, we must ask, can there ever be peace under a system where 5 voices outweigh nearly 200?